The master says it's time to prepare for first confession and first communion, to know and remember all the questions and answers of the catechism, and to die for the faith that's called on. I want to ask why there are so many big people who haven't died for the faith, but I know that if you ask a question like that, you get a thump on the head or get told to go out and play. Mikey says the best thing about communion is the collection, because your mother has to get you a new suit so she can show you off to the neighbors, and they give you sweets and money, and you can go to the cinema and see James Cagney. Growing up can be tough, especially when you're a Catholic and so eager to please. Frank is a young boy eager to become an official sinner in Angela's Ashes, a memoir by Frank McCourt. The master is very old. He says we have to know the catechism backwards, forwards, and sideways. Brendan quickly raises his hand. We call him Question Quigley because he's always asking so many questions. Sir, what's sanctifying grace? Never mind what's sanctifying grace, Quigley. You're here to learn the catechism and to do as you're told. You're not here to be asking foolish questions. Brendan Quigley raises his hand again. There are looks around the room, and we wonder if it's suicide he's after. The master's face turns white, then red. He grabs Question from his seat. He flogs the boy across the shoulders, the bottoms, the legs. Then he drives Question to the front of the room. Look at this specimen. I'm sorry, sir. What are you sorry for? I'm sorry I asked the question. I'll never ask the question again as long as I live. Go back to your seat. The master tells Question to stop the whimpering and to be a man. If he hears a single boy in this room asking foolish questions again, he'll flog that boy until the blood spurts. What will I do, boys? Flog the boy, sir, until the blood spurts, sir. It's very handy to have Mikey living around the corner from me. He's 11 and he has fits and, well, he knows everything because he reads books and he has visions in his fits. He's the expert in the lane on girls' bodies and dirty things in general. And he promises me, I'll tell you everything, Frankie, when you're 11 like me and not so thick and ignorant. Mikey's reading this book about Cuckoo Lane and talking as if he knows everything about it. Cuckoo Lane was getting to be an old man of 21. All the women in Ireland were mad about him, and they wanted to marry him. So the king decided there would have to be a contest to see who could marry Cuckoo Lane, and it would be a pissing contest. So all the women of Ireland assembled to see who could piss the longest, and it was Emer. She was crowned the champion woman pisser of all of Ireland, and married Cuckoo Lane, and that's why, to this day, she is called the Great Blag Emer. And Mikey tells me I've committed a sin by listening to a story with that word in it. And when I go to my first confession, I'll have to tell the priest, piss is a bad word, a thin word. I don't know what I'm going to do. All the other boys know what sins they're going to tell, so they'll make the collection and go see James Cagney and eat sweets and cakes at the cinema. Some sins in this world are worse than others. That's why they have the different sins. The masters and grown-up people in general like to talk about the unforgivable sin. Nobody knows what it is, and you wonder how you can know if you've committed it if you don't know what it is. Maybe if I tell the priest about the great bladder Emer and the pissing contest, he'll tell me that that's the unforgivable sin and just kick me out of confession. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession. Yes, my child. And what sins have you committed? I listened to a story about Cuckoo Lane and Emer. Surely that's not a sin, my child. 'Tis about Emer, sir, and how she married him. And how was that, my child? She won an pissing contest. Who told you this story, my child? And Mikey Malloy, Father. And where did he hear it? He read it in a book, Father. A book? Books can be dangerous things for children. Turn your mind from these silly stories and think on the lives of the saints. Will you do that, my child? I will, Father. Father, am I worse than all the other boys? What do you child. Was that the unforgivable sin? No, my child, you have a long way to go. First communion is the happiest day of your life because of the collection in James Cagney at the cinema. The night before, I was so excited I couldn't sleep till dawn. I'd still be sleeping if my grandmother hadn't come pounding on the door.
Get up! Get up! Get that child out of bed! We're going to be late for mass!
We ran to the church. We arrived just in time to see the last of the boys leaving the altar rail, where the priest stood with the chalice and the host, glaring at me. Then he placed the wafer on my tongue, the body and blood of Jesus. At last, I drew it back. I had God glued to the roof of my mouth. I could hear the master's voice. Don't let that host touch your teeth, for if you bite God in two, you'll roast in hell for eternity. I tried to get God down from the roof of my mouth, but the priest hissed at me. Stop that talking and get back to your seat. When Mass ended, my grandmother was there at the door of the church. Can I go now and make the collection? I want to see James Cagney.
You'll make no collection until you've had a proper First Communion breakfast at my house. Come on!
I ate the sausage, I ate the egg. The food had churned in my stomach. I gagged. I ran to her backyard.
Look at what you did! Thrown up your First Communion breakfast, the body and blood of Jesus. I have God in my backyard.
She dragged me through the streets. She told the neighbors and passing strangers about God in her backyard. She threw me into the confession box. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been a day since my last confession. A day. What sins have you committed in a day, my child? I overslept. I nearly missed my First Communion. I threw up my First Communion. Now my grandmother says she has God in her backyard and she wonders what she should do. Tell your grandmother to wash God away with a little water, and God bless you, my child. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been a second since my last confession. A second, my grandmother wants to know. Holy water or ordinary water? Ordinary water. Ordinary water, Grandma. And he says, don't be bothering him again. Can I go now? I want to see James Cagney. And so we met Mikey on Barrington Street. He asked if I was going to the cinema, and I said I was trying. Try? You don't have any money? I was ashamed to say no, but I had to, and he said, that's all right. I'll get you in. I'll create a diversion. Oh my God, the bag! I stepped into the cinema, sat next to Question Quigley, and the ticket man never even noticed. And that was the end of my First Communion day.